I don't know. Are we streaming? No idea. No idea, people. Hopefully are going out in about 10 minutes time. Top of the hour, you know. Daily Chaos coming up. Old Rodder's popping on. Piers is popping in tonight. God bless him. And we're going to have a bit of a chat about, I don't know, domestic bliss or something. Going to try and work out a new time slot for this show. Daily Chaos coming up. Old Rodder's popping on. Hold on. Piers is popping in tonight. Hold on. What's that? And we're going to have a bit of a chat. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. We're going out on dailychaos.news/show for the first time tonight. That's nice. Right. Okay. Coming up in 10 minutes, people. And apparently, I don't know. Things are working. Amazing. 7 minutes, good people. Copyright free. Nick Clegg.
Hold on, girl, now wait just a minute. I've got something to say, you should hear it. Oh, I'm happy to make time for you.
Then again, old Clegg can take a running jump now. I'll tell you. Going out on dailychaos.news/show. Yeah, show.
You and me uptown now till the disco ball pops. But I have to be me, and everyone can see your anger is misplaced. And I'm gonna tell ya, don't hate me cause I get attention. Don't turn me into what I'm not. I have to be me 24/7, and I ain't never gonna stop. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. No, oh, oh, oh. listen to me. I've tried so many times to tell you this is as good as I can be. Why isn't it enough to be faithful and also be the hit of the party? Let's just break it down to you and me uptown, dancing all around till the disco ball pops. But I have to be me, and everyone can see your anger is misplaced. And I'm gonna tell you, don't hate me 'cause I get attention. Don't turn me into what I'm not. I have to be me 24/7, and I ain't never gonna stop. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Never gonna stop. No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. I ain't never gonna stop. No, no. Oh, I ain't never gonna stop. I ain't never gonna stop now, baby. Never gonna stop now, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. I ain't never gonna stop now, baby. Woo-hoo. Never gonna stop now, baby.
Yeah, coming up in 4 minutes, people. 4 minutes. The best place to watch this show now is dailychaos.news/show. Going to be using that as the place to read all the comments.
Strangers
But they are synced with YouTube comments.
in danger.
But not Facebook. Not Facebook. No, no, no. Too many shadow bans. Yeah, they just don't like democracy. So you know what? I'm not going to help them anymore.
Baby, beware of my body. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
Hey folks on VK, good evening. We're supposed to be going out on D Live as well, but there seems to be a problem there. And Periscope.
creeping through the shadows and the corners of your mind. I go where the wind blows, I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering the name. No, I can't be tamed, my heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
Oh, blimey. 1 minute. 1 minute?
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Is that working? No. Oh, where's the music? There's no music. Oh, blimey. I'll tell you what, winging it. No worries. Don't know what's going on with the music there. Oh, hold on. Have that again. Oh, struth.
Can you hear me?
Hey, folks. Hey, Piers. Hello, mate.
Hey.
Welcome to the Daily Domestic. Yeah. Ordo ad chao. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And it has been a bit of an interesting week with the tech, so I've got really no idea if you can even hear this. Piers, can you hear this?
No.
You can't hear the music?
No.
Oh, I think it's going out. Anyway, right, yes. Coming up. Women. Domestics. Well, actually, show notes. Yeah, because you know what? This show slot is not conducive to various things like frying pans.
Have you had a barney with your missus?
So yeah, and we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about that tonight, a bit of fun and all that, Plus, oh yeah, geopolitics, yeah, silly people. Probably talk about that. You got a nice colour, Piers, and I know you've been on the beach today. We got Ordo's popping in too. Yeah, we're gonna be having a bit of a chat and taking your calls. And for the first time tonight, on dailychaos.news/show. So that's the place to watch the show. And yeah, there you go. Hold on. Oh no, it's looping now. I don't want it looping. Right, okay, let's do something about that. Hold on. There we go. Right, okay. Piers, hello mate. How are you? You're looking very refreshed.
Good. Yeah, feeling very chilled, you know. Been on the beach, so down at Ferring near Chichester.
Ferring, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they were saying on the radio in the car that practically the whole of London had decamped to the south coast today, and that some of the bigger beaches were literally just heaving masses of people. So nobody was bothering with the the 2 meter or the 1 meter or whatever it is these days. You know, I mean, like, you know, it's all to sort of try and ramp up the idea of a second wave.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? So what actually is the deal now? Because as I understood it, so far as that social distancing thing was concerned, and that we discussed on the show last night, and possible detriment to society in the longer term, particularly with kids who can't socialise properly and all that. What is the deal now? Because didn't Boris say it's going to be 2 meters, and then has he relaxed it because he's realised that the economy has got to be saved too, or something, or what?
My understanding is that come the 4th of July, you know, he's going to reopen all the pubs and the restaurants and all the rest of it, and the distance will be reduced to 1 meter to allow them to, you know, orchestrate having a few more people inside and what have you. But they'll have to be sat at tables, and you know, there won't be any kind of milling around at the bar. You know, so there are still quite strict restrictions, but restaurants and bars will essentially still be able to open. Sadiq's been talking about giving some of the bars in central London a bit of extra pavement space so people can stand outside with their chosen drink in hand. So I don't think that'll happen.
That's what they've done in Spain. That's what they've done. The local, you know, town halls or whatever have allowed all the restaurants to have a bit more pavement space so that they can space out the tables a bit.
Sadiq's been suggesting the same thing for London as well. So, you know, so it does look as if, but everybody's basically forgotten all about COVID-19 by the looks of things. And everybody's ploughed down the beach and they're all sat on top of each other. You get crammed in, using every last inch of sand possible. So just because today's weather is, over 30 degrees in the UK. Actually, I have to be fair, we went down to Fairing Beach today, which wasn't overly crowded. It's a sort of slightly lesser known beach, which was actually really nice. And surprisingly, the sea was really quite warm. It wasn't one of the take your breath away situations when you get in, it's actually quite pleasant. So we spent sort of 3 hours plonked on our beach towels, just sort of going for intermittent swims, and I've gone and bloody burnt my back. So a lady applying lots of after sun
right
when we got.
Yeah, well, good for you. Okay, a good old-fashioned Englishman in the sun, and he starts slathering on the olive oil or whatever. Good. So, what I want to know is, well, first of all, I'm kind of confused. This social distancing thing, everybody was, up in arms about this COVID thing and telling us how, for example, Trump was doing, a really bad job of handling it, despite the fact that he was pretty much the first Western leader to stop flights from China, as I understand it. And kind of led the way in that respect. But nonetheless, they've kind of used it as a way, or tried to demean him or whatever. And then you get all these riots and all the rest of it. And apparently there's been a spike. It's been reported that there's been a spike in the States, which corresponds with this kind of 2-3 weeks period of people carrying it before they actually show symptoms and test positive or whatever. And so they now have got this kind of situation, the Democrats, where they're trying to say that he wasn't controlling it, and then they praise everybody going on the streets and ripping up the states or whatever and nicking lots of trainers, and now the stats are showing that there's a spike off the back of that, and they seem to be quite wrong-footed, setting aside this flu or whatever it is, I don't know. But it is quite interesting how this is playing out and being used and abused politically. But Piers, I'm still in two minds about the whole thing. I mean, it just I don't want to do the whole show on coronavirus, but it does seem to me, if there is a second wave, that we should maybe be a little bit more mature, maybe think more, have more faith in our immune system, and all this mask stuff seems a bit silly. You're kind of breathing in whatever bacteria you got. You're not getting the fresh air that maybe your anatomy has developed that you should, be getting. And maybe we should just be taking a bit more care of elderly folks and the infirm, and the rest of us actually getting on with it. And in fact, doing what Boris said in the first place, and which Sweden seems to have pursued, which is the herd immunity strategy. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the way?
Well, yeah, you're so right that in the States everything seems to have been massively politicized. Hang on, I've just got a message from the Viscount. What does it say?
He's here. He's in the wings. Hold on, I'll let him in. I have to let people in by hand because a week or two ago we got a load of Russians popped in and we had a very interesting show. It was very educational actually. We had a biology lesson. So I unfortunately had to scrap that show. But anyway, we got the Viscount here now as well. Yeah, Piers, go on, mate, please.
Yeah, I mean, hi, Rodri, how you doing?
Evening, gents. Very well indeed.
Good evening, sir. How are you? Yeah, no,
hey, Rodders.
We've just plunged in. I mean, yeah, everything.
You're looking very.
Oh, blimey, Rodders, you sound like Sparky the piano.
Can't hear you, Rodri.
Okay, I've unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
we can.
Yeah. Try and get a bit closer to your microphone, and make sure it's plugged in properly. Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Are you in the toilet again?
I am actually. My own little private dungeon. A voluntary one this time. Not in shackles and at Her Majesty's pleasure, but at mother-in-law's pleasure.
Lovely.
So HMP or HMILP.
Yes, lovely. Viscount St David's on Daily Chaos, sat on the bog, just for you.
Yeah.
Right.
But this, in case, his loo has a proper seat, with a lid that closes rather than being metal and open to the elements. So nothing can be removed and bashed round someone's bonds.
Now, I've got to say, Piers, you do have a bit of a tan mark around your eyes, which means you've been out in the sunshine and clearly abusing the curfew requirements.
Okay, I must confess, I've been to the beach today. Me and the lady got in the car and drove down to Ferring on the south coast. It's quite near Chichester and Worthing. But we wanted to try and find somewhere that was relatively close to London that would only take sort of less than 2 hours to drive to.
And a good greeting and meeting place for some of these immigrants who swim across the channel.
Well, actually, it's a little bit further along, so not the gap at that particular section of the south coast is too far away from France, so we didn't see any little dinghies landing on the beach while we were taking our time and swimming. Actually, the sea was remarkably warm, surprisingly so.
Nice.
It wasn't sort of. Yeah, I didn't nearly have a heart attack getting in at all. It was
Farage reckons he released more footage yesterday of illegal boat migrants loaded onto coaches at Dover, according to Breitbart. Hold on, I'll pop that up so you can have a look. Brexit leader Nigel Farage has released more footage of illegal boat migrants being brought ashore and loaded onto coaches by the British Border Force, saying the numbers are so overwhelming that the government is resorting to busing migrants all over the country. On Wednesday, dozens more illegal migrants reached British shores after crossing the English Channel from France. The migrants will be added to the ever-increasing toll, which has already surpassed the total number recorded last year in just 6 months. The crossings on Wednesday, which according to the Daily Mail were comprised of Iranian, Sudanese and Kuwaiti men, bring the total number of illegal boat migrants to 2,226 compared to last year, which saw 1,890 migrants cross the channel. I thought we were taking back control. These people, some of them may be very, very innocent, genuine asylum seekers. But it seems to me, looking at the kind of riots that we saw or major kerfuffle in, for example, Brixton just last night, with British police being injured. People have been saying somewhere between 20 and 40 police officers were injured last night in Brixton. We've got a major problem in the UK, it seems to me,
Olly,
with people creating discontent. And I just wonder how many of them are unscreened migrants who don't have their first loyalty to Queen and country, Rodri.
You precursor this mini round with the assumption that these people, maybe these immigrants, might be innocent. Well, you know what? Not one of them is innocent, for the simple reason their target destination is Britain, because we hand out more sweeties to these blasted people than any other country in Europe. If you are an innocent, legitimate refugee fleeing assault and seeking asylum, the first country you hang your boots in actual fact, is the country of freedom. But they make a point of coming to suck as leeches off the British taxpayer because we hand it out to them. That's why the French can't wait to get rid of them at bloody Calais and escort them by ferry with our Coast Guard to British shores, because they get a better house, they get more benefits from us mugs than any other wanker in Europe.
No.
So they're not innocent. This is all pre-planned. We are the target destination. It's a bit like a video game. When you get to Britain, you've scored absolutely all the points you possibly can, and we're left to foot the bloody bill. And you know what? The major backlash is coming as a courtesy of Bloody Lives Matter, being the BLM movement. They've done absolutely everything they can for us, in actual fact, to start getting quite violent, start booting these people back to the shores where they belong. I'm really sick and tired of it. The number of messages I get saying Black Lives Matter, well, fuck them.
Now, Rodders, we're not post-watershed, mate. We can't get banned. We can't get banned. You can be emphatic, sir, without...
Mate, it would be good.
Yeah. You're frustrated, though.
By the way, I've been banned on Facebook again for posting something rather harmless.
When you look at the demographic of individuals that are coming over, it always seems to be young men between the ages of sort of 15 and 25. And
12-year-olds with beards and frilly wives. Let's be very clear about those who claim to be sort of minors, who turn out to be 45, and somehow they get past border control. I mean, it's like, oh, come on, grow up.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does seem like it's being sort of quietly allowed to happen. And then you mentioned that you think they're being shipped, or Farage mentioned that he thought they were being shipped here, there, and everywhere, up and down the country. It's almost like let's sort of place our army of sleeper activists, in the four corners of our nation, ready to be mobilised and activated when we see fit. I do believe that they are trying to deliberately destabilize both the United States and the UK, because it's part of their agenda. I think they want to financially bring the UK to its knees and destabilize us as a nation, where it's no longer, they want to ramp up the fear. And then they're gonna try to use the fact that we're fiscally fucked. Sorry, excuse my French. To force us into some sort of federalized European superstate.
Piers, we know that's not going to happen for the simple reason that we can no longer afford to be a member of the EU, and in actual fact, neither can any of the other members of the EU afford to be a member.
Well, that's right.
Unless you're getting a handout like Spain, Greece, France even. I mean, France takes out more than it actually puts in.
But they're going to merge all the economies into one and centrally control it. That's the idea. They bring everybody to their knees until everybody's, can no longer, manage it on their own. So it'll be the perfect excuse to try and, we'll probably end up leaving on WTO at the end of the year. But now we've got the likes of Mendelssohn meddling with the WTO. To try and put the kibosh on us actually agreeing any decent trade arrangements post us leaving. Mendelssohn's...
We paid him to do that, by the way.
But Mendelssohn or Mandelson, Peter Mandelson's been, is basically going to sort of try and start influencing the WTO against Great Britain. He's a full-blown toxic traitor, that man. Who's going to try and sort of prevent us from getting any hardcore decent deals on the table. So he's deliberately trying to bring the UK to its knees, so they can merge all European economies into one. So there won't be a Spanish economy, an Italian economy, a Greek economy, a German economy, a French economy, a British economy. There'll be one economy.
Well, Piers, where I disagree there is that if you take all these net takers from the EU, who's paying for it? We used to, as the EU's second biggest net contributor, Germany being the primary, the biggest contributor. The German people, as their economy starts to sort of implode, then your basic crowd in Frankfurt, Hamburg, Nuremberg, Weisberg, that they're not going to pay for the bailout of people that they despise.
And I know there are riots coming. I think the mood of the German people is becoming very, very negative, and I think this is probably why Merkel has claimed there's a second wave of COVID coming in and is trying to clamp down and organise everybody a second lockdown, because she knows politically, the closer we get to, any kind of conclusion in relation to, Britain's, arrangement with Europe, and if we, it does look more than likely that we will walk away on WTO. the Germans are going to hit the bloody roof. I mean, that burden of
it's all well and good the Krauts shipping their goods, their products, BMWs and Mercedes. Their biggest exports are engineered parts, including cars. And whilst they celebrate their Christmas fairs on their trade surpluses, guess what? When those are reversed, the Germans are the most selfish, wicked, nasty, evil little bastards on the planet. And I really do put them below Satan's thunderbolts, because that's where they belong. Now, the reality is these nasty little crowds ain't going to want to crank up quantitative easing, because it hurts their economy. And the moment anything goes wrong for Germany, everyone else bears the brunt. And with us having removed ourselves in the nick of time, this is like the Battle of Britain. Britain could have fallen to the nasty Krauts over a 13-hour period if it wasn't for our great British metal.
Yeah, but there's still... Yeah, but what I'm saying is, yes, we'll probably leave, as you suggest. But then we've got the likes of Peter Mandelson and all these treacherous Europhiles who are going to try and run the WTO against us. So they won't allow us to do any proper trade with other countries and build our economy. They're going to try and bring us to our knees.
I don't know how that works, because the WTO rules are very clear. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But if
Mandelson wants to leave the WTO now, doesn't he? Yeah. Lord Mandelson, Epstein's mate.
And change WTO regulations against us. They're going to try every last trick in the book. It is clutching at straws.
Yeah, Mandelson wants to be the lead the WTO, presumably, so he can collapse the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? How a homosexual Jewish non-entity who's never really held a position of power thinks he's going to lead the world via the WTO against every national interest outside
Rodder's, mate,
EU,
his sexuality's got absolutely nothing to do with it, but nonetheless, the guy is an utter expletive.
Hang on, he is Jewish. He's always maintained his faith. I don't have a problem with that. He's also been or is homosexual. I don't have a problem with that.
He's also been to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Probably,
yeah.
Oh yes, he has.
That's right. He's in Jeffrey's book 12 times. 12 entries. 12 entries, including Peter's direct line and another one for Ronaldo. 12 times he's in that book. 12 times he's in Epstein's black book. And where are the questions? Oh, Lord Mandelson wants to be the leader of the WTO. Isn't that wonderful? No, where's the story? Where are the questions about the fact that he was hanging out with a sex trafficker?
Olly, when you mentioned 12 entries, of what nature are these entries?
I knew you'd say that.
That was always going to be on the cards, wasn't it?
Now look, I just want to say, people. I just want to say, good people. Piers, just hold that thought, sir. I just want to say, look, we've got a new deal going on with Daily Chaos. We've got a website, and this website actually is not primarily about the show. It's about news, what should be in the news, true news, and trying to find out, decipher what is the truth in the news and all that. That's what the forum is about over at dailychaos.news. And also now the show is embedded there. And so far as the show's concerned, I wanted to mention this because, look, you hopefully, and I know I've got some fantastic, really loyal fan base, and I really, really appreciate that. Really do. Going back the days of Daily Brexit and even Jingly Jangly with Piers here. That I know that you want a good show, and I want to produce a good show with cracking folks like these two retrobates and so on and so forth. And I want to concentrate on the show's production, the things that really, really matter, and streamline things as much as possible so that it makes it easy and as stress-free, man, as zen as is possible to produce this very dynamic show. And so the way you can help me to do that the way you can help me to do that is by watching this thing over at dailychaos.news/show. Dailychaos.news. There's a link there. Go and watch it there. And most important of all, comments. That's where the comments are now. That's where the comments are centralized from YouTube. So look, if you're watching on YouTube, actually that's fine. That's fine. Because YouTube, until we get banned, because Rodri keeps swearing and saying, I don't know, probably mentioning very truthful things about Peter Mandelson's ferret. We are hopefully going out and are kind of relying on YouTube at the moment, even though Google is evil. And I'm not going to stop, saying the truth. But we are nonetheless. We're kind of thrown in our lot, really, with YouTube to a large extent. Clegg is useless. I mean, I've had 6-7 shadow bans. I'm constantly shadow banned on the old Daily Brexit page, which actually finally, Facebook let me change the name just last night to dailychaos.news. Daily Brexit over there is now dailychaos.news. Finally, they let me do that after about a year of trying. But you know what? It's all way too late. I'm so fed up with Facebook and the shadow bans and the fact that it's impossible to build a community and have a balanced debate about things as fundamental as democracy and our sovereignty. And so, bugger Facebook, Fastbook, Cleggbook, bugger Zucker Zitz, whatever he is. They're all a bunch of frauds. It ain't a social network. It's a Democrantifa network. So look. Bottom line, I know, Rod. I'm going to finish up. Please help me to produce a great show. dailychaos.news/show. Or yes, YouTube is fine. YouTube.com/dailychaos. But if you're on Facebook, I don't want to be, or on DLive, or on Periscope, or on whatever else. I'm going out to those places, but I need to, instead of juggling between all these different places and looking at the comments on these different places, I need to centralize them, because then I can actually, get to read them and also do other things that need to be done in the course of producing this show live, like keeping an eye on the news tabs, so that when these guys mention something, I'm looking it up and looking at relevant stories and all the rest of it, and the kind of stuff that a desk producer should be doing. So anyway, there you go. Look, Rodders, very, very briefly, before you come in, and I want to throw this back to you because that was a long rant, is I just want to take some comments to prove that I am taking comments from dailychaos.news/show. And this is the embed comments from YouTube. And it's really, really cool, this piece of kit that I've got here to set this all up. Keith D, if it's okay for the BLM crowd, it's good enough for the beach goers. Nicky Pattinson, hold on a sec. I can look at this. You see, I can do stuff like this. If I've got time to think about it, I can do stuff like that. And then you can see
forget the tech. Get on with the comments, Ollie.
What I'm looking at. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Actually, hold on. What I'm going to do, just because I am using a new system, I'm going to pull this out. I can pop that out. Look at this. This is brilliant. This is fantastic. This makes life so much easier. And you people can follow the comments along with me, which is great. So, yes, the forum won't work, says Nicky Pattinson, for comments, Ollie. The video is going out on there, but no option for comments or live chat. There should be, Nicky. There should be. I'm using it. Are you logged in? You're on the show page. Yeah, it's not the forum. It's the show page, not the community page over at dailychaos.news. The downliner, Jay. What browser are you using, Nicky? And are you logged into YouTube? You do have to log into YouTube as well. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Anyway, they're having a chat about browsers there. There are teething problems that we need to work out, sure. Downliner says, calling out anti-Semitism is racist, even though it supports a racist ideology. Everything is racist in 2020, except when the race is non-white. I don't understand what religion's got to do with race, I have to say. I thought it was a different thing. We seem to be conflating very, very badly in society these days. People need a dictionary. Amanda Rolfson says, you would have problem with the Rothschilds, Rodders. You should read their history and what they actually do. Disgraceful. And she also says euro was based on the mark so that the German economy would not collapse.
Well, you are familiar. Hang on, sorry. You are familiar with the way that the Rothschilds defrauded the bond markets following the Battle of Waterloo. Yeah, I'm sure you must be familiar with that, Olly.
We've covered that.
I am. Yeah, go on.
You know the story.
Yeah.
Basically.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the show before. I mean, it's Battle of Waterloo. The Rothschilds used racing pigeons, didn't they?
Carrier pigeons that brought news pre-Reuters and Bloomberg. They had a message service which was acknowledged across Europe. So Rothschild's information technology via pigeons was considered the finest in Europe. And after the Iron Duke of Wellington's major victory, the Rothschilds clearly had news of the victory, but they went into the London bond market and started selling government bonds. And that sent the message to the market that we'd lost. The market plummeted, and who was there at the bottom to pick up the underpriced bonds in the knowledge? I mean, it was the biggest inside trade of history. The Rothschild family, N.M. Rothschild, Nathaniel Mayer Rothschild, basically the bank defrauded the entire nation. And when the news came out that, in actual fact, the Iron Duke of Wellington had been victorious alongside one of my forebears, Sir Thomas Picton, he's buried alongside him in St Paul's Cathedral. Of course, the markets rocketed, and the Rothschilds absolutely coined it on an act of pure dishonesty. So, Piers, I do understand your dissatisfaction, particularly as a key informant on bad, dishonest, fraudulent practice in the City of London.
They basically lied, didn't he? He lied. Amschel or Rothschild, he lied. He said he withheld information about what was really going on at Waterloo, and the British, the pound suffered very badly, and he bought up a shed load of stocks or whatever and made an absolute mint when it was found that actually we won.
You've got to break that into two parts. One is having knowledge of and not disclosing it, which, if you are acting in the national interest, you ought to. The second issue is acting on the knowledge that you are deliberately withholding. And that is the essence of insider trading, for which you wear handcuffs.
That's right. And isn't that what George Soros did when he did his dodgy dealings in the 80s and made all of his money off the back of, again, defrauding the British people, really? Or was that legit? Was it insider trading, or was it legit?
It was the extraction. It was I'd be a little careful there. He predicted that we'd be forced to withdraw from the ERM, the European rate mechanism, and it was in the 1990s under the auspice of that idiot John Major and
Black Wednesday, wasn't it?
That rather decent Chancellor, who I've got a long time for, Lord Lamont.
No, Lamont. Yeah, Lamont.
It was, and that's why he resigned. But it was John Major's stupidity, and it's when interest rates all of a sudden had to go to 18% to keep sterling in line within the bandwidth that had been set by the European rate mechanism. And that's it. And that's where Soros picked up 650 million of declared, and I'll underline that expression, declared profit by betting against the pound. And do you know what the funny thing is? This prick lives in Chelsea. So whilst he complains about Britain and he complains about us being, unruly and heathen, he chooses to live in a rather upmarket place. And we ought to publish his address in case anyone would like to put a letter of complaint through his doorstep.
Okay, look, let's...
This is probably a sign on his door saying no junk mail.
This is fascinating, and it is a big show and all that, and we've done it before, and we should do it again and all the rest of it. But we are going to run out of time to talk about the reason that we are here today, gentlemen.
Well, Ollie,
and
Ollie,
also to find out what folks have to say about this, because
hang on, before
this time
Ollie,
slot. Let me finish. Look, this time slot is a problem, isn't it? This time slot is.
That's the point I was going to make.
Yep.
Between 7 and 8, if you're a family man, you've got family bollocks to deal with. Putting the child to bed, reading her a bedtime story, persuading her that, the Grinch of Rome doesn't really exist and is not going to attack her from, the wardrobe. And the other thing is, at what time do people who are really interested in our show, it's the most entertaining and convenient period. And between 7 and 8, if you're commuting from London, Goldman Sachs or the Houses of Parliament or wherever it happens to be back home, you want to shower, shave, wash, have dinner, give the wife a good seeing to, or vice versa. And the last thing you want are 3 old grumblies waffling on. We should be the post-coitus act. So in actual fact, we should be the culmination, the ultimate climax to a fantastic evening for our viewers and our listeners. And the hours of 7 to 8, I think we ought to put it to a referendum. What's the best time for the daily chaos to go out when it's most entertaining and convenient for, in actual fact, people to write in, give comments, rather than pick up on the archive show?
I want to ask before Piers picks up on that. I just want to take a few comments because I want to encourage people to comment on this, please. I want to hear what you got to say about this. Downliner Jay, our other co-conspirator, Jay Carey, says, "Yep, dinner time for most," and asks about 9 o'clock. Amanda Thompson says, "Have Fridays as a late show." That's not going to happen, Amanda. That's not going to happen. I have to tell you. Occasionally, when my missus is away, we'll do Billy bonuses at the weekend. Yes, but it's not going to happen. David Laddie says 9. Go on, Piers. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, to be fair, yeah, what you're saying makes sense. I mean, perhaps we could push it back to between 9 and 10. Do you think? I mean, I could.
And that's Zulu time.
It's. I mean, what hours do you think would work best, Rod? Well,
by the way, when I say Zulu time, that is the military expression for GMT. So when you say 2100 hours Zulu, it refers to Greenwich Mean Time. So before anyone starts throwing rocks at their, at me, saying that it's some kind of racist slur, I'm not sure the British Army are quite ready to change Zulu time to something else. There it is. For me, not 9 o'clock is ideal, or 8:30 at the earliest. But again, for any family folks, when you've got some screaming infant or teenager, he's going, "No, I don't want to get to bed. I want to stay on FaceTime with their mates." And it's like, no, absolutely not. We're locking them in the closet. It takes time to put the chains on children. It really does, and make sure they behave themselves. And 7 o'clock is not the ideal time to do it. I mean, up until I was 5 minutes late trying to get onto the show this evening because I was playing True or False with my 8-year-old. And it's like, "Daddy, just one more round." It's like, oh, for God's sakes. All right. So I leave her with wifey. And of course, Piers, you've got that grin that you've had what's required of the day. I'm not getting any this evening because the wife is going to be so cross and tired, having been left with the child. Whereas if I had just an extra hour on my hands, the old negligee evening might become rather more relevant.
Yes. Tanis Pullen, bless her, says, "I prefer a fascist book as we can reply to each other on the comments." And she's got a great point. I agree. The comment system on Facebook is much, 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 much better. But this is an executive decision for the show to basically centralise using YouTube and dailychaos.news /slow for the which is the YouTube comment system, because on Facebook I never know the next ban when it's going to be, and actually it seems to me that I am constantly shadow banned on Facebook, shadow banned. It's a highly
What is
deceitful.
a shadow ban,
Just a
by the
sec,
way?
Rod. It's a highly deceitful organisation, and I just can't support that. I just can't support that. It is too much of a hassle.
but
I feel like I've wasted so much time on Facebook when I could have been doing something far, far more
But
useful,
what is a
building up
shadow
a community which wasn't just herding everybody into an echo chamber. And that this show needs to reach out to people across the aisle a bit more, and then give them a bit of what for, but in a nice way, amnesty zone and all that, and have a respectful chat. We have to pull together. That is not possible with the likes of Facebook. That's the decision that I've come to. That's the conclusion I've come to over. Yeah, but just a few before
Olly,
you come back to that, gentlemen. Before you come back to that, just want to take a few more comments. That will cover the watershed for rodders, says Jay. And Thomas Bell is on the comments now. I know he had a few problems earlier tonight, so I hope he's sorted out with that. Amanda Rolfson, need the British Army in the streets to sort out these idiots. That's something we should try and cover, but I don't know if it's going to happen tonight. But that's what happened in Brixton last night was awful. Leigh Hollands says 9 to 10 sounds good, but I'll skip the good seeing to. And Gerald Collins says after the watershed then Ollie doesn't have to get his knickers in a twist about the language. Yeah, Gerald. But the thing is though, on the internet there's never a watershed, is there? It's always a watershed, or it kind of depends. That's the thing about this international lark, isn't it? So it's a bit of an issue anyway, really, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, Amanda Rolfson says blame the wife, rodders, and I think we all do. Yeah, there you go. Rodders, sorry, go on. People seem to be conducive towards shunting the show back a couple of hours.
Well, first of all, I want to understand what you mean by shadow ban, because I'm banned from Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, you're banned fully. Yeah, you're jailed.
And fully. So what is a shadow ban? What exactly does that constitute?
A shadow ban? Well, a jailing is when they tell you, you can't get in for whether it's a day or a week or, in your case, a month or 3 months for putting up basically something which is the sort of humour that we saw on Dick Emery not all that long ago. And then a shadow ban is actually a lot more deceitful because they don't tell you anything. They just cut your numbers. They flick a switch and your reach goes from... I used to get a reach on the average news story of somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people would receive a post, a regular post on the old Daily Brexit page, what's now the Daily Chaos news page. And now I'm lucky if I get 80. And sometimes I'll get like 5 or 6. The reason for that is because they don't want us to. I don't put out stuff that is, unfair or horrid or any of that. The stuff I put out is pretty like controversial, maybe, but it's not like slating. The only people I really slate are Nick Clegg, maybe a bit of Soros. I mean, people that deserve it because they're.
I'm not. Listen, I think I'm being shadow banned as well, Ollie.
Really?
I mean, just for the comments that I post on my timeline to the 600 odd people that I have as friends on Facebook. Yeah. I'm convinced because I noticed that I publish 2 or 3 things a day or whatever, and they're still commenting on something that I published several days ago, and not on the things that I've published in the last sort of 24 to 48 hours. And it makes me think that they're limiting their, people's exposure to the things that I post, even when I'm posting them only to my immediate friends group.
Well, that was my defence. That was my defence during my trial, in actual fact, over Gina Miller. The joke about, first person to accidentally run her over will get 5,000 sovereigns clearly was not a credible invitation to commit murder. And and the judging question, the idiot, M.R.R. Arbuthnot, and God forbid any of us come up against her because she will not like us, basically said, you should have known, because my children know that it's all public. And in my mind, I didn't say at the time, it's like, yeah, and you should also know that your children just discovered the art of masturbation that you thought you'd invented. Don't bloody lecture me on tech and where motive lies. But put that to one side. One of the things that I find astonishing, which has not been refuted, is the statement that I find extraordinarily offensive, but I'm prepared to live with it because we're a tolerant society, is Lewis Hamilton saying that we should, black people should not be buying goods from white-owned businesses or white-controlled businesses. I find that the most astonishing statement. And
who said that? Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton.
Well,
that goes on adverts for Hugo Boss that kidded out the Nazis in World War II, and is sponsored by Mercedes, who supplied their automobiles to the Nazis in World War II. Lewis Hamilton is a total hypocrite. Sorry.
Do you know what? If you put the boot on the other foot, and I said, do not buy any goods from any black tradesman because they're fundamentally dishonest and fascist, I'll be back inside HMP Wandsworth alongside Tommy Robinson, who'd be applauding that statement, overnight. Now, it seems to be one rule for one coloured group as opposed to us. And what I find actually rather encouraging is there have been several interviews with conservative, successful black men and women who, in actual fact, are critiquing Black Lives Matter as being a political movement which has no foundation whatsoever. And the commonality is that, where you've got a black family where there is no, it's a single parent, and they don't get welfare benefits unless they're a single parent, typically it's the single mother who is then wedded to the state, to the government's exchequer. And it absolves the black male from having to live up to his obligations. And this is now becoming a common theme, which I applaud wholeheartedly. Successful black America is standing up to Black Lives Matter, which is a crap organisation, neo-Marxist funded by some, let's face it, George Soros has put his hand up as a benefactor.
But do you think that Black Lives Matter is primary? The hardcore of Black Lives Matter has been deliberately created and funded as an agitator. As an organisation that is deliberately agitating. I mean, we were talking before you joined us. We were talking about the politicisation of literally everything, in the States right now, and I do think that this is all tied in with the war between the Democrats and the Republicans at the moment, certainly sort of the Democrats and Trump. I mean, we've got, finally the judge that has been delaying Flynn's exoneration has been forced to stand down and allow the fact that overwhelming evidence is there to allow him to walk free. I mean, there's so much about to hit the headlines in the next sort of couple of months, I think, I mean, they're talking about, they've got all of the evidence now of conversations that were had about how Obama and Biden and Comey and Mueller and all that lot had conversations about how they were going to try and stitch Flynn up. That's all going to come out. We've got, there's a ream of potential incriminating evidence about the way that the Democrats have orchestrated themselves, over the course of the last three to 4 years, that is going to be extremely damning. And I think the Democrats are funding movements like Black Lives Matter and orchestrating a hardcore element of that organization.
Civil unrest.
Yeah, to try and cause as much civil unrest as possible in order to distract from the public from the fact that there are potentially some very serious, indictments about to be tabled. So everything's being used as a tool, and I think the majority of people from the black community are aghast at the death of George Floyd, regardless of the fact that he was not a particularly pleasant man. And but the fact is that he shouldn't have been murdered or killed in such a grossly.
Let's leave that one alone. There were 3 people who were murdered over the course of the weekend in Reading, sitting on a Sunday. Are we rioting? Are we kicking the shit out of black people, saying it's all your fault? You're a broken race. You don't know how to look after your families. You can't educate your kids. Fuck off back to where you came from.
No. Look, Rodders, mate, come on, dude. Come on.
No, hang on. I'm making the
you don't need to use
horrible. Hang on. Response
get banned. If we get banned from YouTube, we're buggered. We're buggered. All of these shows, waste of time. Just bear that in mind, yeah? Please, help the producer.
All right, okay. But the point being, and it was a rhetorical statement, the point is, you got one black guy who's been killed by a copper, and the copper has been taken, he's been charged with murder. And all of a sudden, we've got a global explosion of violence, looting, stabbing, and the looters and the people in support of Black Lives Matter, which includes white people as well. Let's not forget, it's the criminal class, the damaging class.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a poll. Quick interjection. There was a poll in the States yesterday, Pew Research or something. They reckon that the BLM protesters stateside, only 16% of them are black, 46% white, and guess what? Practically all of them are Democrats.
Okay, the whole point. But the point being, we've had 3 innocent people stabbed by a Libyan refugee who should not have been here in the first place. And do we start rioting and start global protests? White Lives Matter. We've had enough.
Yeah, that guy that flew the White Lives Matter banner over Burnley Football Club, he lost his job. He lost his job over that. He lost his job because he made a point, which is basically that Black Lives Matter is a lot of old cock.
But because I just sacked somebody, what's her name? I can't remember, from the shadow cabinet, for reposting a tweet of an actress who pointed out that the methodologies used by the American police, namely the knee on the neck, that treatment of people in their custody, they were trained up by the Israelis, and she got sacked by Keir Starmer for just reposting that. Just the mere suggestion that the Israeli armed forces may have been involved in training American cops in these methodologies, and that was enough to get her fired. I mean, the world's gone completely insane. You literally cannot insinuate or suggest anything now against anyone for anything without being severely reprimanded. I mean, we really of the thought police, and Keir Starmer is one of the greatest thought policemen out there.
Yeah, he's a nasty, nasty piece of work. Look, just as an interjection, but I want you to carry on. But just very, very briefly, I just want to say, because people are talking about, the show notes, which is the thrust of tonight's show, really, just to try and iron out a few things. I know I need to sort out the focus of this camera, stuff like that. All sorts of things need to be sorted out. Sarah Boland, and she's not the only one, are saying that they can't get into the site at dailychaos.news. Stephen Tanis Pullen is saying the same thing. That they can't get in. Look, there is a link. When you go to log in, there's a link to resend you a password. If you've got a problem with it, just press the contact button on that site and send me an email, and I will address it immediately. Just one other show note with regards to this migration, if you like, from Facebook. I'm not taking messages on Facebook now, or one or two because I'm having ongoing conversations, but that's it. I'm not really taking comments. But I was always crap on there anyway, let's face it. That's one of the reasons why I set this site up, because I wanted to be better at responding to people, and because it helps with booking guests and stuff like that. And so look, if you've got something to say, whatever, either do it in the forum, absolutely, but if you can't log in, obviously you can't do that, so send me an email. Just press on the contact on dailychaos.news contact, and that'll send me an email. I will read it and I will respond, I promise. It's not like Facebook where I was really crap. This is my domain, and I have to make sure that, you know, I'm responsible and all that. So there you go. I promise I will respond to you. Sorry, Piers, go on, mate.
No, just. I mean, that's a primary example. I mean, it may have been that he didn't like this woman. I can't remember her name. Perhaps somebody in the comment section can enlighten us. He clearly, maybe he didn't like this woman and used this as a rather sort of, an excuse, you know, to get her fired, you know. But you know, it also shows just how ridiculous everything's got. Nobody's allowed to say anything about anybody anymore.
That's right.
Everybody.
Yes. Sorry, that's not true. In actual fact, the prejudice is not against black people or anyone from a minority. The prejudice is clearly against anyone who's white. And this nonsense that somehow we enjoy privilege. And what I'm appreciating more and more about the black conservatives is they're coming to the forefront, which is what the Muslims should have done over these terrorist atrocities. And they're actually going on stream, online, on television, saying, hey, in which way are white people's lives privileged? White privilege. They've got to work hard. If you got into university as part of the What's It program because they needed a quota of blacks, in actual fact, you're the one with the privilege. I've been sent many.
The BBC are putting out job adverts saying you've got to be black. Blacks only.
Well,
blacks only.
Precisely.
It's like, it's the equivalent of the blacks have to sit at the back of the bus, except now it's the whites who have to sit at the back of the bus. It's
and
disgusting.
Keep quiet. We're not allowed to
disgusting.
talk. And coming back to the bloke who flew the plane over Burnley saying, white lives matter. I don't see in any way how that could have been offensive to anyone, except for this notion that we have to feel guilty for something or things that we shouldn't feel guilty about.
But you see,
is it?
Right, the black community, the spokespeople, the educated spokespeople for the black community are standing forward and saying there's something wrong. You know, there's something right with this whole situation. The Black Lives Matter movement has been taken over by people who are using it as a means to create whatever agendas they want. You know,
the problem that we have is that it's being adopted by the white middle class. I mean, the notion that our policemen are being paid to protect people, preserve order and peace, etc., and yet they're being commanded to take the knee or a knee, which is a complete misnomer because it's a military term. You only take the knee. In the case of reloading, you get a stoppage in your weapon, or you're ready to open fire, and it creates a stable platform for you to open fire to protect people. And why is it our policemen are taking a knee to people which are a minority political fascist movement? I find that absolutely appalling. That's not what they're paid to do in my name.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we were in a situation where, you know, the cops who are in the front line are in severe jeopardy, actually, and sometimes placating is better than having the shit kicked out of you. You know,
Piers, wrong.
They're underfunded and probably the numbers.
He's right.
Really required on the streets.
Chamberlain
hold on, Rodders. Never mind Chamberlain. Look at this. This is last night, according to Breitbart. Yeah, London. Hostile crowd attacks police. 22 officers injured during what media called a street party. A hostile crowd attacked London police with pieces of wood and one apparently armed with a sword, after officers were called out to reports of violence at a large illegal gathering. The thugs then reportedly drove the unarmed officers off of Brixton's lawless streets. Scotland Yard confirmed on Thursday that they had responded to several calls from the public of the illegal event in Overton Road, including reports of antisocial behaviour and violence in the Brixton streets. The unrest is believed to have begun on Wednesday afternoon and ran into the small hours of the following morning. Large gatherings are still illegal under current coronavirus lockdown laws, and there have been reports of fatal stabbings, rapes, and suspected drug overdoses at alleged quarantine raves in Manchester. The Met Police, the Metropolitan Police, said that the officers attempted to encourage the crowd to disperse last evening, but they did not engage with police. Reinforcements arrived and the group then became hostile towards police, leading to 22 officers being injured and police cars being damaged. Thankfully, none of the officers were seriously injured, but 2 required hospital attention. Video of the ensuing riots and violence against police circulated on social media, some getting picked up by the mainstream media. One tweet embedded video whose photographer claims to show rioters running police out of the area was even retweeted by UK Home Secretary Priti Patel. The crowd is seen throwing objects and hitting retreating police vehicles with pieces of wood. Other pieces of media were reshared by users celebrating BLM and describing feds getting run out of the area. Violence against British police officers was sparked by Antifa and the far-left Black Lives Matter movement earlier this month, with 62 Met officers being injured in 1 week alone. We saw what happened to that cop who was hit, whose horse bolted after some idiot threw a bicycle into it, and she went into a traffic light like that, and she's got a broken collarbone and a punctured lung and all the rest of it. While the official figure of injured from last night stands at 22, Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage claimed that 40 officers were injured last night. The media, police bosses and top politicians have given encouragement to an anti-police organisation with these appalling results.
Well, there you go. I think in this respect, he may well be right. They are looking to try and destabilise this country, both fiscally and on the streets. They're trying to, it's Ordo ad chao. Put colour against colour, creed against creed. They're trying to destabilise this nation. They are all working for the globalists, and the globalists will not sit down and just drop. They won't die. They're going to try every last trick in the book, putting Mendelsohn as the head of the WTO, or causing havoc in the streets, bringing the country to its knees fiscally, not opening shops and restaurants and businesses quick enough so they all fold, to the point where we literally will be gasping for air and everybody will be...
I agree.
If I hold you like that, coming back to the start of the conversation, the police are representative of the British people in that they are meant to maintain law and order without fear or favour. Now, we can be as descriptive as we like about the current circumstance, but it's incumbent on the British people to seek solutions. And I put it to both of you, what would your solution be if you were the chief commissioner, and it's a bit of a provocative question because the answers might be unpalatable. What would your solution be? And I'll lead the fray. I think plastic bullets, water cannons, bang these people up, increase the criminal sentencing for affray and disorder, and in particular looting. I would build an encampment in the Falkland Islands, and I'm not joking. If you
given the allegations surrounding his unlawful decision on the West Ferry development.
Poor old Falklanders, they might have something to say about that.
Well, no, they haven't got a clue. I mean, the reality is, if you're a Falkland Islander, and a friend of mine was a captain of the British Navy during the period, They've got millions of sheep, but they import New Zealand lamb. You've got the richest fishing grounds around the Falkland Islands, which is what the Algies want to get their hands on, and yet they import John West salmon from bloody Canada in tins. But put that to one side. The employment it would create to have a 10,000 person encampment for these types of people, and I would get brutal with them. If they want to throw bricks and pieces of wood at our good old bobbies, and don't forget our bobbies in the past only needed three weapons. One was the hat, which actually was extremely good architectural piece of headwear, protecting the head, a truncheon, and a whistle. Yeah. And that was it. And now you've got these bloody people throwing bricks and assaulting.
They had another piece of protection, Rodders. They had another more fundamental piece of protection, which was the respect.
I know what you're going to say, and you're right.
Which was the respect of the public, because our educational system was worth spit. And when we brought people into the country, we ensured that they adopted our values, and they did. That doesn't happen now. It's not the same. We've lost that. We're way too lax.
You're absolutely correct.
She's being deliberately manipulated by those that sit above her to sort of make a mess of things. I think she's not. This is all by design.
Piers? Who? Patel?
Deliberately crap. I think she's being told to be deliberately crap.
Who?
And that they are trying to.
Who are you talking about?
The globalists. The people.
Who's being deliberately crap? Priti Patel?
No, Cressida Dick. I think.
Oh yeah. She's a horrid creature. She's a politician. She went on Radio 4 and started saying how terrible Brexit was. She's the Metropolitan Police Chief Commissioner.
Well, there you go.
And she's going on about politics.
Another Europhile globalist, she's another one that's working for this secret organisation that's got permeated every aspect of our society. She's the Metropolitan fucking Police, for crying out loud.
No.
Sorry.
Piers, number 3, please. I asked a previous question, Chief.
But I don't think she is. I don't think she is crap by nature. I think she's crap by design.
I agree.
She's being told by her Europhile globalist chums in Parliament and the establishment to wreak havoc in the streets of London and elsewhere, and allow that to try and spread. Let's cause as much mayhem and chaos as we possibly can, and further blame that on the crippled economy. And then we'll go whimpering back. The WTO under Mandelson won't work, and then we'll go whimpering back to a federalized superstate Europe.
Piers, that's what we've discussed is purely descriptive in the way that we view the world as it sits now. However, if we take the present, forget the rear view mirror, how would each of you propose change in terms of an acceptable return to British values that enabled us to win the Second World War, the Battle of Britain?
Put Tony Blair on trial for crimes against humanity, for war whatnots, and for treason. There's a start. No, we need to start. If found guilty of those crimes, hanged. You know what? We've got to stop putting up with corrupt politicians that kill a million people here and there, and get away with it and make tens of millions of pounds as a reward. We need to show the political class that we will not tolerate psychotics in power. So that's number one. Number one. And when we've done that and we've scared the political class silly, then we can start to regain our system. But the first thing we need to do is we need to say enough of these psychopaths. We will have public service.
Yeah, but they won't do that because they protect their own. They're all part of the same club.
That's right.
And the only way we can really frighten them is
we need also to stop paying for the BBC. We need to refuse the BBC, refuse the propaganda. Sorry, Piers. Sorry.
An army of veterans. There are 3.5 army veterans in this country that are probably on the same page as us, who would probably march on London, and rally the troops in order to really hold the establishment to right.
Simon Bean is trying to round them up for us, Piers. He's trying to round them up and to get them to all start.
But for example, if we take the immediate issues, if we have another riot, Black Lives Matter, how should the police respond to send the message, this is unacceptable? Running away, taking a knee, blowing them kisses is simply not in my name.
That's right.
I'm not paying taxes for that kind of crap. It's very simple.
It's being done deliberately. They are, they're being. There's not enough of them there to cope with any given situation. They're outnumbered. But
if you were in charge, what would you do as a practical solution to rioters? Would you shoot them with live rounds? Because my view is, I certainly would.
Well, maybe rubber bullets, as it is.
If you go down that route, you're adding. It's a catch-22. If you allow them too much leeway, they take advantage of it. If you hit them with too much excessive force, it's just going to further stir the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
So it's a very precarious. We do need to be properly policed, and unsocial situations need to be managed properly and forcefully. But it's the failings of Cressida Dick to recognise that the numbers needed, in certain circumstances, in order to be able to properly deal. If the police outnumbered the villains on the street, in Brixton, then there wouldn't have been the problem. But the fact is that they were outnumbered, and this gave these villains the sense of confidence. They need to put the numbers on the streets.
What you've just said is very worrying. That the only difference between urban warfare and peace are the number of policemen we've got. It means that our society is broken down to a degree that these people will only be kept in check if they know they're outnumbered. So it's like a rerun of Zulu Dawn.
Right.
Is the reality. That's what you just said.
We are getting dangerously close to that tipping point. You're absolutely right.
And the point being, it should only take half a dozen coppers to turn up to quell an entire crowd. If it comes down for man on man, our society is in deep doo-doo.
It is.
Well, they had on Brixton yesterday, never mind half a dozen. It sounds like they had more like 60 or so. If Farage is right and 40 were injured, maybe they had 100. I don't know. But anyway, look, let's take a few comments and see what people have got to say.
I wonder if these agitators in Brixton were all, maybe Soros was hidden around some corner.
I really, really, really think you've got a good point, Piers. Let's see what people have got to say. Amanda Thompson, she's telling me how to tag people. And okay, thank you, Amanda. Wonderful. Tanis, we all hate fascist book, but their comment reply is better. Yeah, no, we've covered that, and I'm not gonna rescind. Relent. If Facebook want to keep shadow banning me, but then what is the point? I am wasting my life. I have some self-respect here, and I've made a decision. If you want to help me, that's great. I appreciate that. Rebecca Long Bailey, according to 08 Shunter, has got the sack. And that's Long Bailey that Piers was referring to, that was sacked by Keir Starmer, probably because he just doesn't like her. She went against him in the leadership bid, but he's putting it down to anti-Semitism, which seems to me is a big smokescreen. There certainly are some people in the Labour Party that have problems with Israel. I don't think that has got anything to do with the Jewish faith or Jewish people. But anyway... Piers, hold that thought. Let me get through some of these comments, because I'm avowed to using the comments more responsibly. Amanda Rolfson, my father was based in Rhodesia. He hated the blacks, not because of their colour, but because of their lack of hygiene, and more importantly, the way they treated their wives and women.
Rhodesia,
which is now
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. David Laddie, Olly, you need to put your own chat section in. Yes, David, I have considered that as well. There are issues with that, which I don't want to go into now. Just hold on, Piers, you're at the bit there, mate. But let me just get a few more comments out, please. Downliner says, considering the donations are going directly to a third-party company owned by the Dems, that's pretty clear to anyone who bothers to look. He's talking about Black Lives Matter here. The name of the company should have been a giveaway. Send Blue, it's called, according to Downliner. All sorts of dodgy stuff going on with these people. George Soros did it to Ukraine. He also did it to South Africa. Downliner talking about Soros basically doing it in nation states because it suits him. And he points out that he funds the Dems heavily. Steve B says, point energy towards wrongdoers on our side. BLM, Keir Starmer are not worth the time. David Laddie says, password resend ain't working on dailychaos.news. Oh, really, David? Oh, really? Maybe. When first people registered, they didn't get their email address accurate. And I could add a field to the registration form where people can verify their email address. So I will add that field, actually. But look, please, if you've got problems somehow registering with dailychaos.news, get on that contact form, send me an email, and I will sort it out personally. Ellen Widdowson, Long Bailey, pointing out as well. David Laddie, it's the Laura Pigcock look-alike Rebecca Long Bailey. I think that she looks like something off the back of a 70s porn man, one of those blow-up dolls, Razzle or something. Anyway,
and you think, Olly, and you think I'm going to blow the show? you the host.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but she does. She look you. I've got a picture somewhere side by side, separated at birth. Anyway, Ellen Widdowson also says after taking the knee, they got attacked. That's right. So it's like Piers said. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't, and they are not striking the right. Anyway, blimey. Kenneth Noel Curran says research. Now he keeps saying this in the comments, and I keep meaning to read this comment. And so thank you, Kenneth, for your perseverance, sir. Research. Angel Wallace. Research. Mark Devlin. Research. I don't know. Regarding ongoing mass arrests, incarcerations, Gitmo, and executions over the pond, draining the swamp. Next stop, number 10 and Square Mile. Kenneth, please, I want you to come on this show. You always have so much to say, which I'm thinking, well, who are these people? Please, get on the show. Please, send me an email. Let's sort that out. Amanda Rolfson also says, running police out of the area. Have you heard anything so ridiculous in your life? They need to get their riot gear on, truncheons out, and then use them as well as our forces to back them up. I wonder if they need more than truncheons now, David Laddie. Let me just get these out. Michael Page, stop voting for the same parties. Vote English Democrats. Robin Tilbrook, need to get him back on the show. He's got a lot to say at the moment. George Colley, the police have given away any credibility they had. Kenneth Noel Curran, also that's research. Okay, right, please, gentlemen, we have 3 minutes.
Before the Dam Busters.
Okay, I'll line up the Dam Busters. Blimey.
Jolly good. I've got to say, as an oppressed minority, and I say that speaking as a hereditary peer of the realm, who is Roman Catholic, and I think I speak for fewer than 100 people in the United Kingdom. So we're fewer in number than the smallest country on the planet, which is Vatican City. I would like to form a party and perhaps trundle up to George Soros and say, look, we can run the country better than any of these elected idiots. And these fascist agitators. And that's what this is about. Agitation. And what this country has managed to achieve, despite 1,500 years of winning, is to hand it over to the smallest, lowest denominator. And how we manage that beats me. And that's why I think Trump's going to get in. Because in actual fact, people have had enough. The silent majority, forming the backbone of every country, don't feel that they can actually speak out. If I say that black bloke's a criminal, I've just seen him beat up a cop, if that's recorded, it's going to be re-described in the media in a different kind of light, in the same way that my comments about Gina Miller were. We are handing over our national culture to the minorities of the lowest possible common denominator willingly. And there comes a breaking point, and I think we're reaching that breaking point, where in actual fact, and I say this rhetorically, so, the police can come around and nip me, but, this country is on the verge of a civil war where we've had enough of being pushed around, our rights being diminished on a daily basis, where we can't speak the truth. You can't fly a banner saying white lives matter.
All lives matter. I mean, what is wrong with saying all lives matter? You say that and you're being accused of being a racist. It's a joke. Yeah. It's a joke.
We're handing it.
Is it not obvious that there is an agenda in play, and there has been since the inception of Bilderberg in 52,
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
they decided that the only way the world would work under their control was if they centralized power, both fiscally and governmentally, and they have used every means in their toolbook, to try and make that happen.
Well, hang on, Piers. Let me bring us back to the English Civil War. I'm not a particular fan of.
No, don't bring it back to the Civil War, because if you do, my wife is going to have my guts for garters, because I'm going to miss the whatnot, the pizza night. It's Thursday night. It's pizza night, yeah. And believe, I'll tell you, we're gonna. What time we're gonna do the show? What time are we gonna do the show? 9 o'clock. Yeah. It's too early. It's going to have to be 10. How's 10?
Yeah.
All right.
10? In the comments, tell me. 9 or 10? What do you think is better? Personally, I think this is a domestic thing, yeah. This is a domestic thing. Please, can it be 10 UK time? Let me know. Now, please, in the comments. Piers is also married to a Spanish girl, aren't you, Piers? I think you sympathise with my
not officially married, but I am living with a Spanish girl. Yeah.
Piers, do your Hitler impression
from Seville.
That was
from Seville.
That was absolutely brilliant.
That's hot. That's hot blood. Do you know what I mean? Hot blood.
No, the expression is just amazing.
I understand that this is the copyright-free version, YouTube, from the original motion picture, The Damn Bastard.
There you go. I told you earlier.
I want to say big cheers, everybody. Big cheers for all of your comments tonight about the time. George Collier saying 9, Amanda Robson saying 9:30, which is actually an interesting idea as well, I suppose. Split the difference maybe. Sean Gooner says 9:59, Amanda Robson saying 9:32. Anyway, look, thank you so much, people, for hearing us out about this issue with the comments over on Facebook and stuff like that, and please, I don't think that I'm wanting to ignore the community. I'm not wanting to ignore the community at all. To the contrary, I can't build this community when I've got one arm tied behind my back because Facebook keeps shadow banning this show.
Commercial broadcast license, Olly. Commercial broadcast license.
That's the next step. We'll do that. We'll talk about that. Now we've got this site, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we're going to take on the BBC, people. We are. We're going to take on this mainstream media crap and just try and, get some genuine news out there, yeah? Not just this bloody libtard propaganda, globalist fascism. I thought I was not too bad on the rants tonight. Right, that's your lot. God bless you, everybody. Thank you so much, Rodders and Piers. God bless you, Piers. Oh, I know. Piers, I know that Thursday is your night. Thank you so much. He might have gone because
I think he's hopped off.
He's got a Spanish woman too. You know, this is an issue.
God, I can say I'm married to an English woman, and she's
your woman is pretty feisty too, no, Rodders?
Well, yeah, but she's pretty cold up until midnight, so that's my general sort of thing. And to get her fired up, I just have to make certain statements, and then she gets sort of quite cross. And then
got to look after the women. Got to look after.
Of course,
yeah.
We're gentlemen.
Yeah, right, that's been Daily Chaos. I am Olly Connelly, and I'll see you on Monday at 7 o'clock UK time. That's 2 p.m. EDT, Mr. President. Yeah.
We were going to change the timing.
Go on.
I thought we were going to change the timing for the shows going forward.
Oh, God, you're right. No, you're right. Oh, well done. Thank you. No. Okay, I will announce the time, but it's going to be either 9 or 10 or maybe 9:30, but Rodders, you and I are going to have a chat tomorrow. I'm going to go through all of these comments and find out, see what people are saying, and get some emails probably as well from people, and then we can make a decision. But it's definitely going to be later as of Monday. Yes. Thank you, Rodders, for reminding me that I have the memory of a goldfish.
I really apologise if I was slightly over the top this evening, but I'm really fed up with what I'm reading in the newspapers.
No, you're good. I just wish you'd get a decent microphone so that I can hear what you're saying. Honestly, mate, it's, riding the levels with you is a nightmare. But mate, I hope you're enjoying the toilet at Viscount Castle. And God bless you, Rodders. And I'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Olly.
And
Superb. You too.
Yeah. Here's to us.
Oh, by the way.
And bugger plutocracy. Yeah, that was it.
What
There we go. Look, I'm going to have to go because my pizza is probably on the table, and that's why I from my point of view, also it would make sense to shift this show. It means that I can't rant because it's later, but that's all right because I shouldn't anyway. So it's all good training.
All right, so onwards, I'll bid you good night.
I'll give you a shout tomorrow. I'll go through these comments and I'll give you a shout and we'll discuss this in a bit more detail because I'd like to
I look forward to that.
Soundboard it with you.
No, it's superb. And I've got to say, having the three of us, I love the conversations with Piers, and you.
I know.
And it's just so much fun. It's a release for me, if you know what I mean.
I really, really like the dynamic because you and Piers are polar opposites in certain respects. I know that the main thing is that you share the same values. One of them being mutual respect, which is what we are sorely lacking in our debating these days, of course. But I wanted to say this on the show actually because to me it's beautiful. The dynamic between you is really something. And then I'm kind of in the middle a little bit, with the. And anyway, it works. That's Jay Carey calling to say, look, I've got to go and get my pizza because otherwise, now he wants to have a chat. Jay is here on Zoom. He can talk to you. Explain to Jay, please, Viscount, that I've got to go because
Olly,
my wife's going to have me bollocks. Jay, I'll talk to you later, and I'm going to talk to the Viscount later. You take care.
You still streaming?
Oh, I'm still streaming.
I just heard everything that you said.
Oh, well, that's all right. Did I say anything terrible? Didn't say anything too terrible. Oh,
no,
right.
you got away with it this time.
Right, I'm going to go and have my dinner. God bless you all. Take care. See you Monday. 9 or 10 or what? But see you then.
Olly,
all right.
Olly, I want you to call me later. I want to talk about a plugin for your live chat thing.
Good.
Because you're still relying on YouTube. It's not going to be good when they kick you off.
Yeah, that is a good point. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and I'll talk to the Viscount tomorrow. Tonight it's a domestic, no flying frying pans situation. All right. Ciao, everybody. Have a great weekend. Yeah, and I'm really sorry that I just libelled Nick Clegg, Tony Blair, George Soros, and Henry Kissinger. I'm really sorry. You're very welcome to sue me. All right.